Hey, all good?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
You recovered from the Meiringen experience and all that.
Yeah, kind of took a while. I had some like knee bar injuries, and my body was pretty beaten up, but back at it now.
Like skin issues, like blood and stuff.
A little bit of skin. I just had like my from the knee bar on climb number one in finals. I like had a pretty bad scab that just like hurt too much to bend my knee, so I took some time to. It's still there, but it's not as bad.
Got it. But anyway, you're Colin Duffy. You were born on December 10th, 2003, so you're 18 still.
hmm
You are from Broomfield, which is sort of between Denver and Boulder, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Or like outskirts of Denver or whatever. You've been climbing since I tried to find information here. I did from 3 or 5. When did you start climbing?
So yeah, about that time, maybe like four, I like climbed at a local like fitness center, but it
Right.
was just, for fun, like nothing serious. And then I eventually at like when I was like six or seven, I found a real climbing gym in the area and then started taking like classes. And I actually started like pretty much like top roping and lead climbing. Like I didn't really boulder until I joined Team ABC. So I didn't really boulder until I was like eight or nine.
That doesn't really matter if you were 3, 4, or 5. That's really super early to start climbing
Yeah.
for most, and especially if you lead climb. But you said you joined the Team ABC at 8, and I mean the Team ABC there's so many strong American climbers from that team. How does it work? Is it a huge team, or is it like serious training from early on, or what's the deal there?
Uh, I'd say I mean, it's a pretty large team. We have like lots of different levels for different age groups, but uh, I think, I don't know, there's like a big climbing culture in Boulder and Colorado in general. So I think they like attract a lot of like strong kids from at the time they're really young. But I think ABC just had, I can't really pinpoint what makes the difference, but I think having, especially back when I started, now the program is like slightly different. Like things have really changed in the last, 10 years. But back then you had like Robin was kind of the forefront of things, and, she always wanted the best training for Brooke. So like,
Right,
you
right.
know, that there's like a lot of other that like worked out with the other athletes. And I don't know, they just put a lot of time into training all the kids, and it's been a great environment.
Right. But so you must have been kind of talented, or like you really liked climbing from the start, I guess. And you improved a lot, right? Because
Yeah, I think it was pretty natural to me, like even before I had actually trained climbing, at like carnivals and stuff when they had little walls. I would always like kind of surprise people with my like I just like naturally skilled at it. But then upon joining ABC, I like improved like pretty exponentially fast. I did a few competitions before I joined the team and did okay. I mean, I was seven competing with like the youngest category, so there's like 11-year-olds, but I think I was like 13th out of 19 in the state, nothing
all right,
crazy. But then a year after joining ABC, I was like, doing nationals and like making finals and standing on the podium.
sounds like really fast that things just took off because I mean you were sponsored from like 11, right?
hmm
And then you climbed your first 8B boulder at 11 as well, and then already at 13. I mean, you were born really late in the year, and still you won the World Youths, the Youth B, the first year you could enter. Which I remember this. This was 2017, and you were like the smallest kid, the youngest kid,
Yeah,
and you just crushed. That they must.
yeah,
How did that feel?
that was a pretty crazy moment for me. That's when I really realized that like my potential in climbing, because you don't get to compete like around the world until like youth B. So I
Hmm.
had been doing, dominating kind of the youth scene in the US, but I didn't know how that would translate to Europe and competing with like the Japanese kids. And the bouldering at that event didn't go too well. Like I didn't make the semifinal, but then going into lead, I don't know, didn't have any expectations, was just excited. And then ended up coming away with the win. But that was like that I still like look back and watch those videos. That's probably like one of my favorite moment ever from my climbing career.
Yeah, that was so cool. And then you went on to win it the year after as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you took a silver in the Youth A year after that. I mean, again,
Yeah.
the youngest. So same year, 2019, you had a good day in the Red River Gorge with a couple of 8C pluses and
Yeah.
8B onsite on the same day, right?
Yeah, I did those were my first two 8C pluses, and then like I don't know, it's hard. I had not really gotten to climb outdoors on a rope very much, so
Yeah.
the Red River Gorge was like a perfect place. I mean, it's really good for kids, especially because there's not like a lot of the moves aren't too big, and it's like a little more just endurance factor than like hard bouldering moves. So it worked out really well.
Right. Yeah, it's often super steep and really long routes that don't have like boulder cruxes, I guess, most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, just gonna continue here. A year after that, you won the Pan American Combined Championships and
hmm
earned your ticket for the Olympics, Tokyo, which you competed at and reached the finals last year. And also last year, you got the first medal in World Cup in Villa. And then this year, first boulder final in Meiringen, where you ended up fifth. I mean, it's pretty much like a rocket, right? Every year,
Yeah.
something more.
Yeah. There's something new every year.
Yeah. Before we go into Meiringen, like, what do you say your strengths and weaknesses are at the moment?
Uh, it's kind of hard to tell. I've always viewed myself as more of a lead climber. Like that's just, I think because I was so small in the youth, that's like it was easier to have success in that. And the lead discipline in general is like more consistent for like results. You know, like you either have the fitness or you don't. So like I wasn't like as surprised, I guess, when my first lead World Cups had gone significantly better than bouldering. But
Mm.
then just in the last year, like I won the U.S. Bouldering Nationals in November of 2021, and then did okay at the recent team trials. So I know my bouldering had improved, but to actually see like in Meiringen, to see like the level that I'm now at, it's like I view myself as more of an all-rounder.
Okay, so but this you being really small or short before when you were
hmm
younger, I guess this forced you in a way to do a more dynamic climbing style, and if so, have you been able to keep that when you've grown?
Yeah, being small, I mean, it taught me to climb like above my height. You know, like I'm very good at being able to like comfortably hold positions that are like full span. And I think that still translates into my climbing today. And obviously, I'm not as small as I once was, but still, sometimes height can play a factor, and you need to be able to, I don't know, overcome like that extra couple inches, centimeters that boulders require.
You still think of yourself as small, like because you're used to
A
it?
little
Because I
bit.
mean, you're sort of like if you look at the other guys, kind of same, right? Same as Tomoa, same
Yeah,
as
that's
Yoshi.
true. In the climbing world, I'm like pretty similar to those guys, I guess, in daily life. Like it's like I'm at school right now, and I feel I feel pretty small there, but
Right.
in the climbing sense, I'm like more of a like normal standard height now, which is like I'm very thankful for.
So Meiringen, take us through it, like from the whole Meiringen experience from the beginning, really, like the rounds.
So going back to last year, Meiringen was my first ever World Cup, and like no expectations going into that. I was very nervous. Like I think the moment I reached the isolation area, like seeing, you know, first time competing with Adam and Tomoa and just every single guy was like very intimidating. But I was still happy with how I performed. I think I was 31st and like had some moments where I like definitely learned from mistakes. I think I didn't see a foothold on my first ever World Cup boulder, and then had some like dropped tops, but then came back with like I think I topped one of the tougher boulders in my group. So that was like a good experience. But then coming into this year, like I guess throughout the bouldering season last year, I'd like slowly progressed. Because then after Meiringen, I made my first semis in Salt Lake. But then the second Salt Lake didn't go very well. But then in Innsbruck, I was able to get my first top 10. Was like 9th there. So, but then again, going into this season, my goal was really to just make semis, get back to where I was the year before. And I think that like looseness that I went into it with helped me perform. And then in qualifiers, I just kind of, as soon as I stepped on the floor, I was like in the zone, like ready to get back where I was last time, and then was able to get that 5 tops in qualifiers, which really boosted my confidence, I'd say.
Yeah, could you still keep your like no expectation mindset after doing so well in the qualifications? Like you were, I think, second in your group.
Yeah, I think I still kept it because like I know how close qualifiers usually is. Like the margin of error is really small. So, and looking at the other guys that were in the semifinals, I was just like, I don't know, I was going into it like, hope obviously finals was the goal, but if I just came away with being happy about how I performed, that was all that really mattered. And so I don't know, and I think like seeing myself get that second in my group really like lit a fire in me. And then going into the semifinals after I didn't complete the first slab boulder, I was like a little bit like brought down by that, like I know others around me were topping that, and like just slab has always been like probably my biggest weakness in bouldering. So like, I don't know, it was not the best way to start the round, but then as soon as I like entered the steeper power boulders, I just was like on a mission and was able to like, I don't know, channel my best climbing that I've really ever had in a comp, and then was able to top those last 3 in semis. And like, I don't usually, when I'm actually on the wall, I've never really like screamed or power screamed before, but then I found myself in that semifinal, like reaching the top of 3 and sticking the double clutch dyno on 4, just like letting out more emotion than I've like ever felt. And that was a cool feeling.
That's cool. So did you kind of surprise yourself there? Like,
A little bit, yeah. I think the World Cups, the highest level, kind of really brought out the best in me.
Great. And then we're at the final. I mean, you said that was kind of a goal in a way, but you still didn't expect it, if that's one.
Yeah, I think making finals was kind of my goal for the season, not for the first event.
Right. So how did it feel to be in there?
It was amazing. It was like being in that finals ISO. We had like 2 hours between like rounds. It was kind of ridiculous. And but I was just bouncing off the walls, like having fun, getting to spend a little more like, I guess, personal time with like Tomoa and the French boys, which was cool to kind of have that. I really like those finals ISOs to be able to kind of interact more. And I was really just, nothing mattered, I just was excited to go out and see the boulders and get in front of the crowd. It was just like, I mean, like I said, no expectations in the first round, but especially in finals, I was like, I don't care if I get first or sixth. The fact that I'm here, I was just really thankful for.
So it's like it's not really tense in there, but more like good atmosphere. How would you say it? It's not like someone.
I'd say so. It's a lot less stressful. I think everyone is just happy to be in the finals, and obviously some of those guys, like the Japanese climbers, they've been there a lot, so maybe they felt a little more pressured to win. But I think for most people, it was just like happy to be there and excited to climb, since like you don't have to make any other rounds.
So you get into the presentation, you view the boulders, and you get out into ISO again, and then it's time to start climbing. You went out third, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was like the first problem was sort of it was all dynos, right? But sort of a combination dyno where the crux was to match the top, right?
Yeah, that was at least the crux for me. It was like you had that dyno start that wasn't too bad, and then kind of the weird technical middle section that had a couple solutions.
Mm. Did you kind of beat yourself up for not being able to top, because you easily got to the top, but you didn't manage to match it?
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed. I was like, I didn't care about the results, but obviously I wanted to. The goal is, make the podium, and so seeing myself being like a complete top behind the rest of the field was a little bit like it was a little bit demeaning, and I was like a little bit. I didn't like give up hope, but I was like, that shucks, that kind of sucks.
Right, right. And then problem number 2 was the weird jump start into some compression thing, right?
Yeah, the dyno into the hand jam / like, I don't know, compression thing. That was cool. So I ended up I was the first one to use the alternate beta, where I went left hand to the, I don't know, the dual text volume stack, and then right hand to the zone.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually, that was, I think, Mejdi's idea. I remember him saying that during preview. I'd like thought about that, and as soon as I had tried the kind of hand jam, like weird thing, it felt, I mean, it didn't feel impossible, but it felt like really, really hard. So then my first trying that alternate beta, I was like, oh wow, this could work. And then after a few tries, I like stuck that zone, and it was like, I mean, it was a great feeling to kind of, I don't know, get a little redemption after the first boulder, being the first athlete to hit the zone. And then go ahead.
That's interesting you saying that you just discussed it in ISO, because like I think because Pohl was out first, right? And he didn't even try it, I think.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Which is interesting anyway. But that's cool. You got the sound there. Did you feel like, okay, I'm on track again now? I'm not too far behind.
Yeah, I was just happy to be holding my ground in the finals, I guess, not being like absolutely like destroyed by the others. But then the rest of that boulder was it was like really hard. You saw, I think, both Kokoro and Tomoa fell like after the zone before the finish, and
Right.
Mejdi was, the only one to top that one. So
Right.
it was surprisingly hard the last few moves.
Enter number 3. What was your what are your thoughts when you discussed it in ISO, this problem? Because you must have seen that this start looks weird. What was the idea?
Yeah, I was very confused. I think no one really had like, no one was like certain about their beta, but I think other people had talked about like standing in that scoop and like grabbing the top and just like pushing the foot down. But like when I was out there, like, during preview, that seemed unreasonable. And the other way we thought of was like starting like with the palm on the like, I guess, sloper thing, and then left hand on the arete, and kind of like climbing into like the starting position. But then as soon as I tried that felt kind of impossible. And in general, it was just a really confusing start. All right, yeah. So get out there. The first 2 minutes or so, I just experimented with different options, was like feeling pretty lost. I think kind of had felt close, like pulling into that, like the undercling, but still nothing felt like, I don't know, very close. But then as soon as my first try, I kind of thought about like running and tapping, and then I looked back, I think, to one of the judges and was like, is that a valid way to start? And they gave me the yeah. So I was like, that's when it kind of clicked that, okay, maybe this is the way. And so then a few tries later, I think I did it with like having I was kind of moving as I started, but I think it was either the first or second time I looked back for kind of confirmation, and they weren't like calling me down or giving me a thumbs down or anything. So then I just kept climbing and was able to get the top, and then went back into ISO. And a few minutes later, I wasn't too surprised, I'd say, when I was called back. Like I had seen some of the coaches, writing appeals, and
Right.
like I wasn't even sure myself about like because usually you're just tapping your feet at the start. It's never like a hand, or if it is, you're like fully balanced on like a slab and just like tapping. But yeah, so then go back out there. I was just happy to get my one top, so I was kind of sad that was taken away. But then the second time I get back out there, I know my beta, and then it felt, at least to me, it felt like I was established a little bit longer. And then I think again, I looked back and then hadn't been called down. So I was like, I'll continue climbing, finish the boulder again. And then as soon as I drop down, I'm standing there for about 40 seconds and they're just waiting for confirmation. Like there's not really any signals. I'm like getting pretty confused. And then eventually one of the judges finally was like, nope, you didn't do it. And then that's when I started getting really frustrated. I was like, you saw me like yelling and pointing at the judges. During that time, I was saying like, you better give me my time back. Because if I hadn't sent during that 2 minutes, I probably would have appealed to get another 2 minutes because they took away like 40 seconds of my time, just like deliberating. And then, but at that point, I'm just pretty fired up, like get back on the wall. And then probably the best feeling ever in a comp for me was when I was fully still established on that third attempt. And in my head, as soon as I hit the next like pocket before the zone, I was like, I just knew that I had started the boulder and was going to top it. And I was just, the crowd was going crazy. It was such a good environment. And then, do the last like press move and then hit the top hold and just like so much emotion.
That was for sure the moment of the competition. It was so good. But you said you're frustrated. But were you frustrated or angry? If there's a difference there, like, were you angry with the judges or like? I mean, it's a difficult call, obviously, to see if it's actually a valid start or not. But as they didn't call you down like immediately.
I can't say I was mad really at the judges. I was just mad at the situation and kind of almost at myself. Like I said, I really just, if anything, I wanted the top more than like anything. That's all that really mattered was, the climbing. And I mean, after I went behind, I was like apologizing to some of the IFSC officials for causing all the chaos, and they were like, "Don't apologize." Like they felt bad.
Yeah, I mean, the problem there, I think, was actually with the route setting.
Yeah, it's just.
I think so.
I think it's cool to see like new starting positions like that. I think I enjoy when you have to climb into like the starting position, like maybe there's a piece of tape on one of the higher holds and you have to kind of do a move just to establish. But there's definitely like, it was very unclear on what like constitutes as a start, since like, normally you're just, it's, you're using your hands.
Yeah, exactly. But I've have you watched it afterwards?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how would you judge yourself? Like the first couple of, would you allow to start, or would you say it's a full start?
I'm not really sure. I don't know if it was my first or second. It was like very borderline, and I know a lot of people had kind of like come at Yoshiyuki because his start was like pretty similar to mine. And but I don't really know. It's like a very hard situation to judge. I think especially because he hadn't gotten the top, so maybe like people were like discussing mine a little more, since it's, giving an athlete a zone versus a top is like pretty detrimental to the scores. So I don't really know. I mean, they certainly weren't as like proper as when I actually did the boulder, but I think they're on the border between probably not a start if I had to judge them.
When at first you had to try to climb the problem 3 times, and lots of emotions, and then you didn't get as much rest for the last problem. Do you think that was the reason you didn't top the last one?
I don't think it was the reason, but I certainly wish I had more rest. I'm surprised that they didn't necessarily like put me at the end of the order, but I would have complained more, I think, if I hadn't gotten anywhere on the last boulder. I mean, clearly, like I was able, like in the state that I was in, I could have topped it. So it ended up fine, but I think it could have taken away a little bit of energy. The third boulder wasn't the most physically demanding. Like it was only a few moves, and like once I had done it the first time, like it wasn't very hard to repeat like the top sequence. But I guess I wish I had more rest for the fourth, but that's like my least regret. I kind of regret not trying like different betas and being a little more tactical.
Yeah, actually, you answer almost all the questions from the Instagram. But some people, they ask, how do you overcome that like mental like block after the boulder 3, if you can calm down easily, or how it works? Like.
I think I don't know. It was hard to go from like so much emotion to like having to reset and prepare for the last boulder, but I think I was just so fired up and excited to have gotten the top, and the whole like the crowd support was, it was insane. So I think going into the fourth boulder, I was like, I didn't really have to do a mental reset. I think I was just excited to get another chance, and to like, because I mean at that point in the competition I still had a chance, going into like, obviously if I had topped the last boulder I would have won. So I think I was just excited, and the third boulder, if anything, it almost like helped more than hurt, because if I hadn't topped the third boulder then I would have been probably in a way worse mental state.
So do you think what happened on the third problem, where you showed a lot of emotion, will it make it easier for you, more comfortable on the stage, so to speak, in the future, you think?
I think so, yeah. Now that the more experience that I have, the more comfortable, and like I'll be at the competitions, and now it took a while, but I feel like I belong, I guess. Like it took some time to really like I was seeing the results and like making semis and like even in lead doing well, but to actually kind of feel like I'm, a figure on the World Cup circuit, it's took a while. So I think now I'll be like, the goal is always still to make semis. That's, the first qualifiers is never an easy experience. Like, I mean, Kokoro was like, 17th in qualifiers, and he makes finals at literally every bouldering competition. So that's going forward. That's going to be my first goal. And then now that I've had more semis experience, I can be a little more prepared.
Yeah, we have some questions from Instagram, like I said. Also, we have one from Stasha Gayo first, about your personal opinion on the setting in finals compared to semis.
I think I love dynamic movements, and like I think one of my strengths is dynos, but I think there should have been at least one or two boulders in finals that were like just pure climbing. I think the semis boulders, they all had little coordination moves, but they weren't like the crux of the climbs. So I personally enjoyed the semi setting a lot more. They were just as playful and dynamic, but also like it felt like you were more, I don't know, climbing more rather than like doing like 3-move jump boulders.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the general feeling about the setting in. I've heard that a lot from a lot of people saying the same thing. How do you deal with fame?
I don't know. It's in my daily life I don't really feel, it's not anything. I go to school and I'm a normal kid. People know about my climbing and the Olympics and everything, but it's it kind of feels like I have two separate lives. I have my like normal high school American kid, and then I also have this climbing life where I go to these international competitions. I don't know. I just like, I'm glad that people like watching me climb, and people that think I'm cool enough to follow me on social media and stuff. Right. But I don't let it really affect my daily life.
I guess it's a difference though when you compete in at home, like in Salt Lake, compared
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's been a little weird, like kids at the local gyms taking photos and autographs and stuff and kind of being like a known figure. But it's like, I think it was weirder at the time of the Olympics, but now it's like I've had that for over a year now, so I've gotten used to it.
Do you have any specific criticisms lately of the approach to organizing comps?
Uh, I don't know. I don't know if that's really my like position to take at this point. I'm so new to the comps, and I kind of let the more experienced athletes like lead the charge on like letting the federation know about their opinions. Like there's certainly a lot of like there's a lot of controversy right now, but I don't know. I think it's like at these competitions there's like lots of standards, but I think there's still sometimes room for trying new things. Like for example, the photos of the boulders in qualifiers. Like I certainly thought it was weird, but at the end of the day, I didn't really like we're competitors and kind of have to take any new challenge that's thrown our way. And so while it kind of deviated from like the norms in competition climbing, it was like just kind of a minor difference that you had to adjust your approach.
What have you learned from this competition?
I think I learned just a bit about myself, about being able to channel that extra gear and I don't know, have that like just extra try hard during a bouldering round. I think I learned kind of, I guess, about a little bit of my potential, and I don't know, it was really just, I think Meiringen was a great experience and just a confidence booster and like, I guess, profile booster for the future.
Will you miss the competition in Meiringen? This was probably the last time, I think. Maybe Vladek knows better.
Nobody knows better, but yeah, they try to organize it again, but it's nothing sure now.
So if it was the last time, will you miss it? Like the Meiringen?
I will, yeah. It's gonna always hold a special place in my heart, being both my first World Cup and first bouldering final. But wherever the next, whatever replaces Meiringen, it's just cool to see another part of the world.
If you were to imagine yourself as the new CEO of the IFSC, how would the World Cups look different? I guess that's kind of the same questions as earlier, but
I don't really know. One thing that I've thought of that, again, I don't really know what other people would think, is I feel like the field in the last few years has grown significantly. There's like a lot more countries and athletes attending, and sometimes I think the qualifying down to the semifinal is like a pretty dramatic like cutoff. I think when compared to when there was like maybe 60 competitors at a World Cup to now like almost 120 men, I think sometimes, I don't know if there need to be a change, but it's interesting when like it's like 17% of the field makes it to the next round.
Yeah, I guess it would kind of make sense with Continental Cups, which is also happening, at least in Europe. They will have the Euro Cups. So you have to qualify sort of for the World Cups, I mean.
Yeah, maybe make the World Cup field a little bit like harder to enter, but I mean, I think there should also still be room for new federations to enter, and it's hard in some places like the US and Japan to whittle your athletes down to like 5 people can be a lot tougher than in smaller countries that have less like competitors.
About your opinion on the IFSC botching the streaming of the World Cups, which is not actually true for the US, but for Europe. I mean, yeah. It's not the Discovery Eurosport thing there.
Yeah, I don't really know my opinion about that. I think it really sucks for a lot of viewers to have to go through paywalls or get a VPN. And I don't know. I think that I agree with everyone else that is maybe not the best decision for our sport, but it's harder to, I don't understand it, I guess, as much not being like in Europe and actually like seeing it. I've just, seen the YouTube videos and stuff. So, but I think there definitely needs to be change or discussion about that.
For sure. I think it's really hard to tell what's right and wrong here, because I mean, on the one hand, it's really good with the free stream and all that. On the other hand, it's good if the sport grows and we can reach more people. I don't know. What's your motivation to train hard?
I think just these competition moments are what keeps me motivated all the time, is, wanting to get back to that big stage and be in front of the crowd. It's like, it's kind of the most motivating thing for me. Like, I love outdoor climbing also, but for me, at least right now, comps are what really like brings out that, I don't know, like I said earlier, extra gear, like that excitement.
You have some training partner?
Not nothing specific. I like a lot of my friends from Team ABC. I'll go and climb with on the weekends, and there's a lot of people in the Boulder and like Denver community. But I try to, I guess, climb at as many gyms and with as many people as possible to get that variety.
And there is one more question about the Meiringen. How do you like the crack climbing?
I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm not the best at. I've gotten better, I guess, at hand jams and fist jams and stuff, but I think it's interesting to see different types of moves and climbing enter the comp scene. I think I hope they don't like overuse cracks. Like I think it's a cool thing once in a while, but if they like force crack moves too much, I don't know. It'll turn into like how dynos are a little repetitive. But I don't know. I'd say I know in the like last few years, dual techs has gotten more popular. I cannot say that I love dual techs that much, but you have to adapt.
What about outdoor climbing? Do you have some plans, like some projects outdoor, or you just train for comps at the moment?
At the moment, just comps. I might, for fun, like in the next month before Salt Lake, since I have some time to, like, you know, not have to train all the time. I'll try to get outdoors locally, but no specific projects right now. And then hopefully in the fall, after the season is done, I'll get outside more. And like I haven't been to a rifle. I would love to work on some lead climbs there, and since it's so close to home. And then also probably in the fall and winter, I'll go on some trips, maybe to, I don't know, Red Rocks, try some of those hard boulders. And at some point I want to, maybe not this year, but in the next few years, get out to Sayus or, I'm blanking on the name, like Margalef, one of those European crags that look amazing.
And one more question, how difficult was it like after Olympics to start preparing for the next season? You know, like
I think for me it wasn't too difficult because this just feels like the beginning. For a lot of people, the Olympics was like, I mean, people that have been doing the World Cups for years, the Olympics was like so draining and like a big event. But I think for me, it just got me even more motivated to like prepare for the new seasons. And I don't know, it wasn't too hard to bounce back. I think I even like a month later went and did a like just like national cup like lead competition. I was just excited to get back to it.
does it anything change after Olympics? It's easier for you, like, you know, like find sponsors or stuff like this?
Yeah, I think like in general, like I'd kind of had sponsors before the Olympics that I'd worked with contracts and stuff, and now I feel like I'm at a good place with like those a consistent like, I don't know, relationship with those brands. And hopefully, you know, in the future, like I think, you know, the Olympics, it's not always the ideal at least now, like format of climbing, you know, like the last year with the 3 disciplines, it wasn't the best show, I guess, for non-climbers, but what was great is bringing that extra recognition and like money into the sport. And you know, I'm very thankful for that like exposure that the Olympics brought.
What's the plan now? I saw you were not registered for Korea, at least not yet. Are you going there, or you know?
No, I'm not going to go to Seoul. That's just with my school schedule, and
Right.
it's kind of it would be too much. But then I'll attend the rest of the bouldering comps. So both Salt Lakes, Brixton, and Innsbruck.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the lead season, I'm still a little bit unsure. I'll for sure do up until Chamonix, but then I'm not really sure if I'm going to do Briançon yet. It's like 2 extra weeks staying like in Europe away from home, like having to also pay your way around France during that time. So I'm still unsure about that, but I'm hoping to participate in, I think, Jakarta during the fall.
Okay.
I know there's a few more in like maybe World Cups in
as well, I think.
Slovenia and China. I'm not really sure about those because I am starting college in the fall, and I don't want to. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to miss like 2 weeks of school.
Where are you going to go to college?
It's University of Colorado Boulder, so
Okay.
I'll be
So
close
no
to
plans to move to Salt Lake or anything?
No. I like Salt Lake, but for now I don't feel ready to like fully move. I think it's better for me right now to like go train there during like once every few months. But I don't really know how much I would enjoy being there 24/7.
So I think that's it, and thank you so much, Colin. It was great having you, and we wish you all the best in the future.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So you're probably in Salt Lake, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it's all like.
And in Europe when you get here.
Mhm.
So thanks a lot.
See you guys in the summer.
Yep. Take care.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Bye.